Hi, I'm Mickalene Thomas. Welcome to my studio. I'm here in Brooklyn talking about my collaboration with Avant and the set of prints that I've made with them. I often think of my daughter, who's now 12, how she would feel and what she would experience with this body of work. And I love that the juxtaposition between a reclining nude and the resist may seem like it has nothing to do with it, but they're all an extension of my life and experiences. The first print I will talk about is landscape with woman washing her feet. A lot of times when you think of what Black artists should be making, it's never about the everyday life. It's never about how we're living or experiencing of joy or environment. So it was exciting that Avant responded to this particular image for this selection of prints, because the landscapes in my body of work is not something that many people know me for. I've made a handful of them, but they're very rare works of mine. The painting was made in 2008, and I was spending some time up in Hudson, New York a lot, and was really inspired by the Hudson River School painters and wanted to just really remove the figure from my work and think about the notion of the body in a sense of how we navigate between these spaces and being seen or unseen, and how landscapes are really still an extension of our bodies. And so that's why it's titled Landscape with Woman Washing Her Feet, because the symbolism in the landscape of a woman is the printed leopard print. The Hudson River School painters provided an impetus for me to set on a body of work like the landscapes on my own and create a notion of utopia, of longing in spaces. The pictorial images that you see in the landscape are all taken from my trip and journey back and forth upstate New York. So they're all my own photographs, collaged and juxtaposed to create a new landscape. I think it was probably the first time that I started experimenting with these particular colors of rhinestone, because it was very specific to landscape colors like greens and yellows and blues of the sky and all of that. We didn't use rhinestones in the prints, but we used different techniques like glitter or mica or other sparkling elements that provide the same type of illusion or sparkle or je ne sais quoi. The next work I'll talk about is the self-portrait Afro goddess looking forward. I made in 2015. If this print had a soundtrack, I would probably use Millie Jackson's Fuck You Symphony, and that's PH Fuck You. It's so great. When she made that, she came out there just like fiercely bursted out on stage, unexpected, and that's what it's like, unapologetic. I really love the way I'm seated and the gaze and how I'm looking out confidently, owning sort of my own prowess in this image. I wanted for the viewer to know that the eyes will hold and engage with them, but they can't divert from it. No matter which way they look, the eyes bring it in and capture you. The image was actually created in 2006, and at this point, I was making a lot of photographs of myself and other muses or models. I started looking through it and thinking about how I could insert myself on the other side of the lens and really start exploring beauty through notions of desire based on self-love. And so I made a series of collages of Afro goddess, putting myself in this sort of godlike position, but also providing a sense of validation of beauty and ownership and like owning my space. One of the things I really like about this painting is that I started integrating silkscreen techniques into my work through my printmaking training. I really wanted to find that intersection between photography, printmaking, and painting. And silkscreen allowed me a way of entry into layering and adding the images without literally gluing a photograph onto my painting, because I'm interested in taking the photographic image and transforming the elements in a photograph into a painting language. I love how the hair is treated in here. The hair is like really decadent and quite Baroque. And the Afro in most of my paintings really represent signifiers of sort of Black female empowerment, Black beauty, creating a halo like a goddess. And I love how that holds true in the print. Even though they're not rhinestones, it's glitter, and it's like a mix of different types of color of glitter that give that sort of iridescence and movement, so it's not flat. So this particular painting, this is a really great series that I've been thinking about for a long time. So a lot was going on prior to 2017. Although I'm pretty responsive as an American citizen and very political, I'm not one who will want to march on the front line. Knowing all of that and being conflicted with, am I doing or saying enough? I decided to figure out a body of work that will say and articulate that for me. And so that's how the Resist series was born. It was using a voice that I didn't know that I had in this work. And it was being expressive and just talking about some of the disparities on Black bodies and police brutality over a period of time, that questioning like, how far we come from and have we really changed and why are we still here at this point? They're all archival images, but they're based from some fires in Bed-Stuy, so very specific burnings, the Move fire in Philadelphia. This famous photograph of this woman being dragged was sent to me. And I've been collecting these archival images related to Tulsa Massacre, to the civil rights in present day Black Lives Matter. Some of these animals are treated better than Black bodies. I wanted to make that parallel. And then I was listening to a lot of James Baldwin, and I started imagining, what would he say? Like, what would he think today? I've learned a system, I learned how to make a painting, but then this process of the Resist was allowing me to unlearn that to make something new. It was kind of going back to the way I made things when I was an undergrad. It was just this sense of freedom and sense of play, of not really knowing what the image was going to look like in the end, but having all the tools in front of me and making sense of them. So that gestural moment, you know, like the way it's just like taking paint pens and oil sticks and sort of just getting some of that, whatever that energy was, whatever the tension was just letting it out, letting it speak for me. And this was also the first painting where most of the elements are all silkscreened, like really using my silkscreen techniques to build up the image, but also erasure and gestural moments to highlight some of the figures in it that remind me of evil. What's happening in the print itself, it's like spot varnish, but almost embossed. So it really comes forward, allowing you to understand how thick the paint is on the original painting. A lot of museums have responded to this work more than any of my body of works, which is really exciting. This particular image, November 1981, is after a calendar image, Jet Beauty of the Month. I started collecting Jet magazines since I was younger. When I started getting more involved with the notion of Black female sensuality and sexuality and the notion of desire and the ownership of that as a Black woman, I really started responding to the Jet Beauty of the Months, because I realized that a lot of those women were anonymous, unlike the women in the Beauty of the Week who had a sense of identity. I wanted to provide a sense of agency for these women, but also wanted to provide a sense of play. I love this particular image because it reminds me of that kind of teasing moment as if you're about to have something intimate with someone else, or getting dressed. Like when you're feeling good in front of your mirror or just out the shower and you are loving yourself and you just kind of turn back and just have a little fun. So the gestural mark that you see on this is really pulling that out. And it's really what the viewer wants to take from it. And what I like about these archival images, that there's also this sense of natural beauty in them. And I think those images are rare to be seen today when we live in such a desire of, we want to be seen, but we want to be seen with a filter on it, or some kind of veil or some other layer of ourselves, but not really the full self. For me as an artist, I'm always excited to work with people who can present my work in a new way that I probably haven't actually thought of it. I'm not trying to make these look like my paintings, because they're not. So how can the audience access the work and still enjoy the work as if they're standing in front of the painting, is to provide them the same quality. So it's really about the illusion and the experience of the painting, more so than trying to match it or be as didactic as you can. I want more people to have the opportunity to become a collector. And this is a way to do that. This is a way of making really high quality prints that are unique, an extension of my practice and my work, and that they can own. And I think that's what it's about.